10 years from today, you open your brokerage account before work. You did not win the lottery. You did not sell a company. You may not even be a millionaire. But something has changed. Your portfolio is depositing enough cash each month to cover a meaningful part of your life. Maybe it pays the mortgage. Maybe it covers groceries, utilities, insurance, and gas. Maybe it lets you cut your hours, leave a job you hate, accept lower pay for meaningful work, or survive a layoff without panic. That is the real promise of a dividend snowball. Not necessarily never working again. No longer being controlled by your next paycheck. But here is the problem. Investing for 10 years does not automatically create that freedom. You could invest $1,000 every month for a decade and still fall short of replacing your income. The outcome depends on your starting capital, how fast your contributions grow, the return your portfolio earns, the dividend yield you eventually rely on, and how much your life costs. Accumulating wealth and creating usable income are connected goals. They are not the same goal. So in this video, we are going to calculate the monthly income your portfolio needs to produce. We will determine the capital required to support it. We will compare 3 realistic paths that could get you there, and we will expose the mistakes that can destroy the plan before year 10. The numbers will be illustrative, not guarantees. But the framework will be practical. If you value realistic investing breakdowns, like the video. Subscribe to Narrative Finance and stay until the end. Because before we calculate the portfolio, we need to define what stop working actually means. Most people are chasing the wrong number. They ask, how much money do I need to retire? A better question is, how much of your life does your portfolio already pay for? Because replacing your entire paycheck is not always necessary. Your salary is not your cost of living. Someone earning $6,000 a month might comfortably live on $4,000. Someone else earning the same income might need $7,000 because of a mortgage, childcare, insurance, healthcare, and a higher cost of living. That difference changes everything. Instead of obsessing over replacing your paycheck, measure what we'll call your freedom gap. Freedom gap equals monthly living expenses minus reliable monthly income. Reliable income can come from more than one place. Dividend income, rental properties, part-time work, a pension, or even Social Security later in life. Let's make it practical. Suppose your monthly expenses are $5,000. Your portfolio generates $800 a month in dividends. Your freedom gap is still $4,200. Now fast forward a few years. Your expenses have fallen to $4,500 because your mortgage is smaller and your car is paid off. Your dividend income has grown to $2,000 a month. Now your freedom gap is only $2,500. Notice what happened. You didn't just grow your investments. You also reduced the amount your portfolio needs to replace. Every permanent dollar you eliminate from your monthly expenses has the same effect as creating another dollar of passive income. That is why financial freedom happens in stages. First comes protection, when your dividends cover one essential bill. Then comes flexibility, when they give you the confidence to change jobs or reduce your hours. Finally comes work optional, when your portfolio covers most of your core living expenses and your paycheck is no longer the only thing keeping your life together. Now that we know how to measure real financial freedom, we can answer the next question. How large does your dividend snowball actually need to become over the next 10 years? Now that you know your freedom gap, we can calculate what it would actually take to close it. And this is where unrealistic expectations need to disappear. A strong dividend portfolio is not built by assuming an 8%, 10%, or 12% yield will remain safe forever. For planning purposes, a range closer to 3% or 4% is far more responsible. But there is an important distinction. Dividend yield is not the same as total return. Your portfolio may also grow through price appreciation. Strong companies can raise their dividends over time, and during the 10-year accumulation phase, Those dividends can be reinvested to purchase more shares. Later, when income becomes the priority, part of the portfolio can be adjusted toward more cash flow. Now let's calculate the targets. To generate $1,000 per month in dividends, you need approximately $300,000 at a 4% yield. At 3%, you would need closer to $400,000. For $2,000 per month, the target becomes about $600,000 at 4%, or $800,000 at 3%. For $3,000 per month, you are looking at roughly $900,000 at 4%, or $1.2 million at 3%. And to produce $4,000 every month, you would need around $1.2 million at 4%, or $1.6 million at 3%. Those numbers are significant, but they do not automatically mean your goal is impossible. Your portfolio may not need to replace a $5,000 paycheck. Once full-time work ends, commuting, meals away from home, payroll taxes, and other employment-related costs may decline. That means replacing your lifestyle can require less income than replacing your salary. You also have more than one possible finish line. You could live entirely from dividends. You could use them to cover half of your expenses. Or you could combine dividend income with flexible part-time work. And because many strong dividend growth companies yield closer to 2% or 3%, the plan must rely on growth and disciplined accumulation, not yield alone. 10 years can create meaningful freedom, but not through small contributions and hope. It requires the right combination of starting capital, monthly contributions, and a realistic income target. So now we need to compare the three paths that could actually build it. At this point, you may be thinking this only works if you can invest thousands of dollars every month. The reality is more encouraging. There isn't one perfect path. There are several ways to build a meaningful dividend snowball. For the next examples, we'll assume an average annual return of 8% during the accumulation years. That doesn't mean the market earns 8% every single year. Some years will be better. Others will be worse. These are simply long-term illustrations. Let's start with someone beginning from zero. Imagine you have no existing investments, but you consistently invest $2,000 every month for 10 years. At an average 8% annual return, your portfolio could grow to roughly $366,000. At a sustainable 3.5% dividend yield, that could generate about $12,800 per year, or roughly $1,070 per month. That may not replace a high salary, but it could cover housing in a lower-cost area or make working full-time unnecessary. Now consider someone who already has a head start. Perhaps you have accumulated $100,000 inside a 401k, Roth IRA, or taxable brokerage account. You continue adding $1,500 every month for the next decade. Under the same assumptions, the portfolio could reach approximately $500,000. At a 3.5% yield, that represents about $17,500 per year, or nearly $1,460 per month in dividend income. Finally, imagine someone who has already built substantial wealth. They begin with $250,000 and contribute $1,000 each month. After 10 years, the portfolio could grow to around $730,000. At a 3.5% dividend yield, that is roughly $25,500 per year, or about $2,125 per month. Combined with controlled living expenses or part-time income, that can make work feel optional rather than mandatory. Notice what these three investors have in common. None followed the exact same path. One relied on aggressive monthly contributions. Another benefited from an existing foundation. The third started with more capital and needed smaller ongoing investments. The timeline is shaped by three variables working together: starting capital, monthly contributions, and the amount of income you actually need your portfolio to replace. Master those three variables, and the 10-year goal becomes far more realistic than most people imagine. Looking at those three examples, One objection is completely fair. Most people cannot suddenly invest $2,000 every month. And this plan doesn't pretend they can. During the first years, your portfolio is not doing most of the work. Your contributions are. Compounding becomes more powerful later. But first, you have to build something worth compounding. That is why I prefer thinking in terms of a contribution ladder instead of one fixed monthly investment. Imagine starting with $700 per month during years 1 and 2, then increasing it to $900 during years 3 and 4, raising it again to $1,200 in years 5 and 6, growing it to $1,500 during years 7 and 8, and finally reaching $1,800 per month in the last 2 years. You don't have to wake up earning enough to make those numbers possible. You build toward them: a promotion, a raise, a performance bonus, paying off high-interest credit card debt, a responsible refinance that lowers monthly payments, a temporary second job, or developing a higher-paying professional skill. Each of these can create additional cash flow. One simple rule makes a huge difference. Before your lifestyle absorbs every raise, send at least half of your increased take-home pay directly into investments. That is not permanent sacrifice. It is delaying lifestyle inflation long enough for your portfolio to begin creating freedom instead of bigger monthly bills. And if family expenses, a mortgage, or healthcare costs limit how much you can invest today, that doesn't mean the strategy has failed. It simply means your contribution ladder starts lower and climbs at a different pace. Even increasing your contributions by just 3% to 5% each year helps offset inflation while steadily accelerating your progress. The goal is not to match someone else's income. The goal is to steadily increase your investing capacity while reducing your freedom gap. Growing your contributions is powerful, but where you invest that money and how taxes affect it can make an equally important difference over the next 10 years. Building a larger portfolio is only part of the equation. Keeping more of what your portfolio earns matters just as much. That is why the type of account you invest in can have a meaningful impact over a 10-year plan. For many investors, the first priority is capturing the full employer match in a 401k. If your employer offers free matching contributions, that is usually the highest guaranteed return available. Next, consider an HSA if you are eligible. Then fund a Roth IRA, provided you qualify under the current rules. After that, you can increase your 401k contributions even further. And if your goal is to make work optional before age 59 and a half, a taxable brokerage account also deserves a place in the plan. Here is the balancing act. Retirement accounts provide valuable tax advantages. But money that is difficult to access does not easily support an earlier transition away from full-time work. That is why it helps to think in terms of two separate pools of money. The first is your long-term snowball, built inside tax-advantaged retirement accounts. The second is your freedom bridge, using a brokerage account, cash reserves, and short-term treasuries to help fund the years before retirement accounts become fully accessible. Inside those accounts, the focus should remain on building total return. A diversified core of low-cost broad market ETFs. A layer of quality dividend growth investments. Perhaps a modest allocation to higher yield assets when they are genuinely sustainable. And enough liquidity so you are never forced to sell investments during a market decline. Be careful not to confuse a higher yield with a better portfolio. Chasing unusually high yields can slow long-term wealth creation and increase the risk of future dividend cuts. Real progress comes from combining dividend income, dividend growth, capital appreciation, and tax efficiency. One final adjustment is easy to overlook. If you need $4,000 per month today, that same amount will almost certainly buy less 10 years from now. Your income target should grow with inflation, just as your portfolio is expected to grow over time. Now the math is in place. But even the best financial plan can still fail if investor behavior gets in the way. By now, the math should feel realistic. But most 10-year plans don't fail because someone picked the wrong ETF. They fail because the system slowly breaks. The first mistake is chasing yield. Seeing that you need more income, it becomes tempting to buy investments yielding 8%, 10%, or even 12%. Higher income sounds attractive, but an unusually high yield often comes with higher risk. Dividend cuts, a declining share price, too much money concentrated in a few positions, and weaker total returns over time. The second mistake is treating an 8% average return like a guaranteed annual result. Markets don't move in straight lines. A bear market could arrive in year 3, year 7, or right before you plan to reduce your working hours. Your plan should survive years that are worse than average, not depend on everything going perfectly. The third mistake is spending every raise. Your income grows, but your investments stay the same. Lifestyle inflation quietly steals the one variable you control the most. The fourth mistake is quitting during the invisible years. At first, the dividends seem almost meaningless. Many investors change strategies, panic during market declines, or stop reinvesting because the progress feels too slow. Ironically, that often happens just before the portfolio begins to build real momentum. The best protection is building a system that requires fewer decisions. Automate your contributions. Review your progress once a year instead of every day. Stay diversified. Maintain an emergency fund. And celebrate milestones along the way. Your first $100 per month in dividends. The first essential bill your portfolio pays, covering 25% of your freedom gap, then 50%. And finally reaching the point where work becomes a choice instead of a necessity. That is the real objective. Not waking up 10 years from now and never working again, but waking up knowing you no longer depend entirely on an employer. Now let's return to where we began. 10 years have passed. You open your brokerage account before work. This time, you don't see a portfolio that replaces your entire paycheck. You see something much more important, a portfolio that has reduced your dependence on one. Your dividends may be paying the mortgage. They may be covering groceries, utilities, insurance, and part of your healthcare costs. Every monthly payment covered by your portfolio makes your freedom gap a little smaller. Imagine your monthly living expenses are $4,500. Your dividend portfolio now produces $2,200 every month. You decide to keep working part-time because you enjoy it, earning another $2,000 per month. Your remaining freedom gap is only $300. You are not retired in the traditional sense. You have become financially flexible. That is a very different kind of freedom. And for many people, it is a far more realistic goal. Everything we've covered leads to one simple chain. Your income goal determines the amount of capital you need. The amount of capital determines how much you must save and invest. And reaching that target depends on consistent contributions, long-term growth, and a strategy that can survive inflation, taxes, and market volatility. That is why 10 years should never be seen as a promise. It is a window of opportunity, a decade of disciplined decisions that can completely change the decades that follow. Because the real purpose of a dividend snowball is not to stop you from working. It is to make sure you never have to stay in a job simply because you have no other choice. The goal is not to stop working. It is to build enough freedom that work becomes a choice. If that's the future you're building, leave a like and subscribe to Narrative Finance. Share this video with someone who's building their own financial freedom. And leave your comment to strengthen the discussion. Now click on one of the 2 videos on your screen and keep building your investing knowledge. Thank you for watching all the way to the end. I'll see you in the next video.